Okay, this is my 2000 Jeep Cherokee 4x4, and we've used it a lot over the last 20 years. It's been pretty darn reliable. But we got up here to this other house I own, and look what started happening here. Ooh, that's a bad sign. And evidently what happened is I blew the lower radiator hose on this thing. This is the hose, the new hose. And I'm going to try to put that on. But the problem is, way down in there is where the lower clamp is. Way down in there. So I went on YouTube and I looked up some YouTube videos on how to do this job. And if you take this air filter box off, you get better access with your hand to get down to the lower hose clamp on this thing. And that's what I'm going to try to do here. And this is just the first part of this, but I'll try to take another video as I go here to see if this is a successful project or not. But the way I set this up is I set up a little workbench here with the things I might need for the job, and then I went down and got the correct part using the computer and then my local auto parts store. And the upper hose is okay, but there's the upper hose right there, and it's this lower hose way down in there that I'm gonna have trouble getting to the hose clamp with. But anyway, the first thing to do is take this box off here. Comes off pretty easy, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay, well, I got the air box off. This is for the air filter here, and it just comes off with a couple of bolts and a screw or a nut down there. Real easy to get to. This is the top part, and I just tied it off out of the way. And that lets me get down there to where that really hard to get hose clamp is, way down in there. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna do this, but it is a squeeze clamp like that, and I've got some different tools here I'm going to try to squeeze it with. And by the way, when you get your hose, get some of these. These are these black nitrile gloves. They're $3 for 3 pairs, and that saves your hands and fingers a little bit from the trauma of this whole thing. And then on the new hose, I went ahead and got new hose clamps. I'm going to replace those squeeze clamps with these screw types. And once I get this off, this is going to be real easy to put back on. But it's that clamp way down in there that's going to be the real problem. And that's where I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. I'm going to squeeze and squeeze on it, try to get it off. And I don't really want to have to remove the power steering pump, but I didn't see any video where they had to do that, so I think with these tools I've got here, I should be able to get to that to cut it off or get it off or whatever. But here's another thing is most of the water leaked out, I think, but I got a pan here to catch the rest of it, because when I pull that lower hose off there, it's going to leak more. Not that I'm going to reuse it, I just don't want it running over and down the street here. So anyway, that's the second phase of this lower radiator hose project. We'll see how this goes. Okay, well, this is the hard part of the job right there, is getting that one spring clamp off down at the bottom, and it's way down in there. And I spent about an hour trying to get that off, and finally had success. What I had to use was an assortment of different things, vice grips and plain old pliers and channel lock pliers. And then I had to move from this position here around to the top to get to where that opening is. I don't even know if you can see that, where that is, but anyway, by working and working, I was able to get that last clamp off and move the hose enough with a screwdriver prying it to get it off, and that is the hardest part of the job, is getting down there, way down in there, to get to that last hose clamp. And then I'm going to put it on, the new one, with one of these that I can just use a screwdriver with. But that's where I'm at with the project. This part here will go real quick. I got to put the coolant back in it, leak test it, and then see if everything is good to go. Okay, well, job done. She's back running again. And all this was a pinhole leak right there at the very bottom of that hose. And that's what failed, but it was time to replace this. It was pretty bad. It was 20 years old. So anyway, that clamp there on the bottom is the bugaboo. Maybe somebody will do a better video on how to easily take that clamp off. But once I got this down in there, I just used regular hose clamp. You can't see them, but it was much easier to do with the regular hose clamps. And what I'm doing here now is I'm doing the leak test to see if we got any leaks going on. And what I had up here was antifreeze that was on the driveway that I hosed down to make it clean, so when I repark the car here, if there is any leaks where I normally park the car, I'm going to be able to see it. But so far this has worked pretty good. What you do is when you start the car up, you want to, of course, check your temperature gauge and then have this on air conditioning, so that it's really having to cool the car down. And I put the coolant in the radiator and also the tank, the coolant tank. Then I'm going to drive this around the block and let it sit till it cools down, and then top off both that, and if there needs any more in the radiator, I'll do that too. But anyway, job done, successful. Can be done, but it's tricky.